So section 7. In section 7, we're going to talk about metacognition, which I love that the most. I feel like the best part of developmental psychology is this part. Metacognition is the idea of thinking about thinking, like what other people actually thinking right now, or what you actually are trying to understand and comprehend right now, which can actually help us to go to meta memory path or the knowledge about memory. Because like if you don't know a lot about your memory, about your own capacity and abilities, you cannot actually do metacognition in the best way possible, right? For example, I know that I cannot memorize some specific dates, for example, deadlines and that kind of stuff, because like I'm not really good in memorizing like birthdays or anniversaries or like that kind of stuff. So I always put down every important dates in my calendar. Or for example, if I'm working on a project, I would just add any sort of progress in my notebook. Because like I know that, okay, for example, tomorrow I cannot remember what I did yesterday. So like everybody should know a lot about their own capacities, should be actually informed about that. And this whole idea is metacognition, thinking about thinking. Another example is, for example, you are now listening to this lecture. There might be some stuff that is unclear for you. For example, maybe you didn't understand what I meant by metacognition. If you actually got the idea that this part is not clear and just reaching out to me, it's gonna be a sign of good understanding of metacognition, because exactly you know what part is clear, what part is not. So basically, you know your own higher order processing. Another example could be, for example, you have an exam. If you would know that taking notes and just reviewing them one day before the exam is the best way possible, best way strategy for you, it is like, again, another example of metacognition in you. So even young children, they have an idea about their own memory. For example, they can differentiate between, hey, look at this one, or hey, remember this one. So they can actually understand that, for example, like very young children I'm talking about, they can understand that if mom is just asking to look at this picture, it's just different from asking about remember this picture because it is important. So they are also sensitive about any sort of input. However, young children, they are just so positive. They feel like they have great mnemonic strategies. For example, if we would ask them to just memorize this table with all these new vocabularies, they would just say that, hey, I can memorize all of the words here, which is not true. If we would ask them to just recall those words after 30 seconds, like majority of them can just remember only two of them out of like 12 words, which is kind of funny because like they said that, hey, I can just memorize all, for example, 12 or 15 words, but this is not true. They could just actually recall only two of them. If you would ask them again the same question, again, they would say that I can memorize all of them, which is not true. So they feel like they are able to do everything, which is not the most like correct way, because like they cannot, but they do have that sort of positive mindset about their own mnemonic strategy. It is important. Another important point is there are going to be two ways in children for acquiring knowledge from the environments for doing problem solving. We're going to talk about two of them. One of them going to be reasoning by analogy. Another one going to be forming rules for combining information and making judgments. This actually can lead to rule-based problem solving, which is like a set of procedures for acting on the environment. It is same as computer, for example, saying that if X happened, I have to do Y. It's just basically, again, computer metaphor. Let me give you an example. For example, children, they know that if they would break a cup, it's better to tell mom first instead of lying. This is what I'm saying, because they actually, maybe they had some experiences of lying to their parents, and they would know that mom eventually gonna understand that I lied to them. So it's better to just be honest, but act innocent. Just tell them that, hey, mom, I'm very sorry if this happened, and just try to be cutesy and that kind of stuff, so they can just get away with that. So back to the lecture, it is just an example of rule-based problem solving. Read this part. It is very important. There are going to be definitely questions about this one. Read the examples. It's also important. And be mindful that preschoolers in general, they are just capable of doing that in the perfect way possible. They are always afraid about consequences, because they know that if, for example, X would happen, I have Y as my consequence. Oh, dimensional change card sort. It is also very important because it can literally show you how rule-based scenario gonna work. Watch that and see how the child gonna act when we have like one rule, or when we have like more complex rules, because it is important. So if you would watch the previous video, you can understand that 3 years old children, they are able to execute two if-then statements at the same time. However, this is not the case for 2 years old. They can only just execute one if-then statement. There are more about this experiment, and like I said, it is very important. So watch that, take some notes, because I'm sorry about the noise, because like I'm outside trying to enjoy weather, but like apparently everybody is just driving in my neighborhood, which is kind of funny because it is a gated community. So basically we don't have that much like cars these hours, but yeah, I'm sorry about the noise.